If the news media can demand answers from everyone else, why do the Clintons get a pass?
We should call it the Clinton files, not the Epstein files. That's what we're learning tonight. This is the Clinton files.
Hillary and Bill Clinton are public figures, so why isn't the press, the news, pushing for clear, on-the-record accountability when Epstein's name comes up? On Friday, we had hundreds of thousands of photos that were released, and the real question, was Bill Clinton a regular visitor on Epstein's world, or is the internet running wild again? Either way, why are the Clintons staying silent? Why are replies getting shut off? And why does nobody in the press seem interested in asking the most basic questions? All right, we got some quick ground rules here. I'm not here to convict anybody on the internet, and I'm not going to state unverified claims as fact. That's not how you build credibility. But I am going to call out something you can see with your own eyes, the media's selective spine, because the Epstein saga has turned into this weird national pattern. When certain people get mentioned, it's wall-to-wall coverage. When other names come up, especially the Clintons, it turns to whispers, vague wording, moving on, and suddenly the press acts like asking a direct question is impolite.
But does Clinton owe the public an explanation about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
You know, I actually haven't tracked what President Clinton has said, and if there are unanswered questions, you know, he should address them, and I suspect he will. But let's just make sure that we meet the promise that President Trump made as a candidate that all these files will be released.
So there we have former vice presidential candidate Tim Kaine avoiding the question. I got to give it to MSNBC for actually asking this, but it quickly gets deferred to, let's not hold Clinton accountable. Let's shift it back to Trump not releasing all of the files, allegedly. So here's the core question. Why isn't the media pressing Hillary and Bill Clinton for clear public response? Not a sources say, not a drive-by line, not a friendly any comment while they're walking past a camera. I mean real accountability, an on-the-record answer that addresses what's being circulated, what's not true, what's misleading, and what can be verified.
These files for months, only to dump them late on a Friday to protect Bill Clinton. This is about shielding themselves from what comes next or from what they'll try to hide forever, so they can release as many grainy 20-plus-year-old photos as they want. But this isn't about Bill Clinton. Strong reaction from his team, not surprising.
So what we're seeing now is Bill Clinton playing a little bit of defense. They had a press secretary release a statement, but that's all. The news media is not calling for any level of accountability, no real answers. They're not demanding responses from the former Secretary of State, Bill Clinton's wife, and it's a very interesting and weird timeline that we're in. Here are some of the photos of Bill in a pool. The faces are covered up here because the victims are probably under the age of 18 at the time. But here's Bill Clinton, a photo in a swimming pool, face redacted. I'm not seeing any level of accountability. If that were my wife, if that were my husband, I would be out ahead of this in the news.
Why do you think Epstein had that giant painting of Bill Clinton in a dress in his foyer?
Dude.
Do you know that picture?
Yeah.
That painting?
Epstein's taste in art was not great. Like, if you look at the shit...
that was great. That painting is like, I got you, bitch. That's what that is.
Oh, right.
You got a president who was on the flight logs 26 times with Epstein, and you got that guy in a...
Why won't the news media say a damn word about this painting? Why will Hillary Clinton not say a word about this painting? Why won't Bill Clinton say anything about this? This has been like this whole little rumor mill, black hole, wormhole, conspiracy theory. But Joe Rogan brings up a great topic, a great question. Because look, Bill Clinton is a former president. Hillary Clinton was a Secretary of State and a presidential nominee. Tim Kaine, vice president nominee. These aren't random private citizens. They are some of the most famous political figures in modern America. Ask the people in Haiti. And when a story keeps resurfacing around Epstein emails, photos, connections, claims, the bare minimum is that the public gets some clarity. Why won't they go near this?
And the pictures they remember. If there are other pictures that are damning about famous people being down there, being involved, that's what destroys a career. It's salacious. But the problem is, it continues to add to this belief that we're all corrupt, that there's something wrong with the system, that it is not just broken, but it has become an embarrassment. And I wish that that were not the case. Because in the end, if you don't trust the institutions that run the country, you won't trust democracy, you won't trust economic freedom, you won't trust the economy.
That is exactly where we're at as a nation right now. Frank Luntz, liberal pundit, but he brings up a great point. All of these files, all of these images, the cover-up, the redacted images, the redacted documents, they have eroded the trust that we have in institutions, CIA, FBI, Secret Service. Because if a president goes somewhere, he's got handlers, he's got Secret Service. As an active president, I think he's got about 30 people with him. As a former president, he still has a Secret Service detail. Where are those guys at? Why have they not been called? Why have they not been subpoenaed? Because I guarantee you, members of the Secret Service know some things that should not be kept secret. Hillary, where are you at? Chelsea, where are you at in all this? If your husband, if your father, if the former president, Bill Clinton, is so innocent, why not come out and disavow all of this, put all of it to rest? The silence is deafening. So why do we keep getting this pattern? Why does the media treat the Clintons like hands off while they'll demand responses from everyone else? Why isn't there a sustained push for verification? Chain of custody, authentic documents, who's releasing what and why? Why don't we see the same hunger for follow-up questions, timelines, and public accountability when it comes to the Clintons? People have become absolutely nasty to each other because of the Epstein files. The people that they won't be nasty to is the news media for not asking the tough questions of Bill and Hillary. Bubba, you know that. You know they won't do it. And I'm wondering why. Why did they get a pass? Is it because former president, Secretary of State, Donald Trump, the current president, has been accused of everything. And every news outlet has dunked on him. But why? Zero accusations, zero questions, no tough, real accountability for the Clintons.
What role, if any, did you play in criticizing the character of the women who have accused Bill of conduct?
None. If somebody's willing to pay you $130,000 or $170,000 to say something, and you get your 15 minutes of fame, and you get your picture on the front page of every newspaper, and you're some failed cabaret singer who doesn't even have much of a resume to fall back on, and what's there she's lied about. You know, that's the daughter of Willie Horton as far as I'm concerned.
It's a weird timeline. Where are all the feminists? Where are all the pink hats? Where is all the Me Too at right now? Why have they avoided ever asking any tough questions to Hillary? Supposed to be the feminist, glass-breaking, ceiling-breaking, first and most qualified woman president of the United States, and she won't even address the accusations for her own husband, the father of her child, the man that she lays down in bed with every night. Come on, Hillary, you owe America an answer.
Bill Clinton and not Donald Trump. We should call it the Clinton files, not the Epstein files. That's what we're learning tonight. This is the Clinton files. This is the blowing up in the face of the Democrats over this.
Scott, don't you think that because they are not releasing everything that Congress and the president signed to say you have to release this in 30 days, doesn't it give more fodder for the conspiracies that exist? I mean, they're not following the law.
Well,
Scott Jennings over on CNN, some homegrown talent. Could it really be called the Clinton files? I've seen pictures of Bill Gates. I've seen pictures of Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, and a lot of photos of Bill Clinton. And here's where Hillary matters in this conversation too. People are asking why she hasn't addressed it directly, why they're not taking question, why replies get limited, why the posture is ignore it and it fades. Because right now, the Clintons have turned off replies on both of their X accounts. I'll show you now. So if you go to Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton's X page and you try to reply, you cannot reply to anything on their page. It is blocked out here. You see that? Who can reply? The author mentioned who can reply. See conversation. Accounts Hillary and Bill follow or mention can reply. No one else. The general public, you are off limits. The same thing is on Bill's. See it here? See conversation? Got it? You cannot reply. You cannot leave a comment there. Why did the Clintons shut up public comments on their X pages? That to me says more by saying nothing than if they would just come out and disavow the whole situation. Guys, this story has legs. It's not going anywhere. It's only getting worse for the Clintons. They know it. Someone told them to turn off replies. They don't want to, I would say, probably convict themselves by just messing up and making a comment, making a reply. But the news media, if they were really news, should be asking tougher questions. I'm not saying silence equals guilt. I'm saying silence creates a vacuum. And in that vacuum, trust collapses because the American people watch this and think, if the press won't even ask the question, who are they protecting? If I can't even comment on a former president's X page, why not? And that's the bigger story I want to cover today. Not rumors, standards. If the media believes in accountability, then accountability can't be selective. It can't be based on party connections or who your friends are. So let's do what the press should be doing. What's verified? What's alleged? What's missing? And why aren't the most powerful names being asked to answer basic questions out loud like the rest of America has to? If you like this kind of content, smash the like and subscribe button. Consider joining the channel as a member and turn on the notification bell. I'll see you in the next one.